Welcome to a new year and to today's Salt Lake City Council formal meeting. We are continuing to hold our meeting remotely due to declarations of emergency related to the pandemic and earthquake. While we hold our meetings remotely, we're happy to have you connecting with us online or by phone. Thank you for joining us. To begin, we'll take a moment of silence as we recite the Pledge of Allegiance to ourselves. When done, we'll go ahead and turn the audio and video back on. Okay, welcome back. So conducting our meetings electronically is different from our normal in-person format, and I will cover the guidelines about how we'll handle the public hearing section of our agenda a little bit later. We're going to go to section A4 of the agenda, which is approval of minutes. We'll be approving the minutes of Tuesday, November 10th, 2020, Tuesday, November 17th, 2020, and Tuesday, December 1st of 2020. I will look for a motion.
I move that we approve the minutes of those days.
Second.
I have a motion from Councilmember Fowler and a second from Councilmember Johnston. Is there any discussion to this item? Seeing none, we'll go ahead and proceed to a roll call vote. Councilmember Johnston.
Yes.
Councilmember Mono.
Yes.
Councilmember Dugan.
Yes.
Councilmember Fowler.
Yes.
And I'm a yes as well. That is unanimous with Councilmembers Rogers and Valdemoros absent. Let's go ahead and move on to Part B of our agenda, which is public hearings. We are accepting public comments through WebEx, and for those whose only option is to call in, staff will be monitoring a separate phone line. The City Council has always had rules of decorum that are narrowly tailored to advance the legitimate government objectives of having an orderly and efficient meeting that moves through the agenda and gives everyone the opportunity to voice their opinions. We had these rules of decorum when we met in person, and it's important to continue that engagement and provide an orderly, non-disruptive, efficient, and safe opportunity for all people to comment, even when we're meeting virtually. As a reminder, we are taking comments in the order of each of the scheduled public hearings. General comments will take place after scheduled public hearing items. In person, we had the added benefit of being able to see each of the commenters, which helped us get to know our constituents and engage more meaningfully. As we continue to meet electronically, we still want to provide a space for people to feel comfortable and safe to participate. In order to achieve that, our rules of decorum extend from the moment you arrive into our virtual meeting. To help facilitate our comment period, please be respectful. Avoid yelling or making racial slurs, obscene or defamatory remarks. The Council respects all points of view, and we welcome new insights. However, using foul language and personal attacks make the public comment forum uncivil and intimidating for others. In addition to this being a public forum, this meeting is also being broadcast on television and the internet. Because of that, the Council has decided to more strictly enforce the use of profanity. If you feel you need to use profanity to express your point, you're welcome to email council members or call our comment line at 801-535-7654. Based on that, this will be considered your advance warning against the use of profanity. If someone uses profanity, we will mute your microphone and you may forfeit your right to finish your comments. In addition, just as we would ask for your name in our in-person meetings, please provide your first and last name prior to speaking in the public comment period. To limit disruption and ensure the efficient operation of our meeting, your first and last name cannot include a message or violate our rules of decorum. If your registered name doesn't meet this requirement, then our staff will use the chat feature to gather that information from you. If you are able to give a first and last name that meets this requirement, our staff is happy to, if you're unable to, our staff is happy to direct you to another forum because your message is important to us. Robert Nutzman from our staff is helping to moderate this meeting. He'll be messaging with attendees to coordinate. Please monitor the chat screen for information and/or feel free to message our staff with any questions. Again, the name of the staff member is Robert Nutzman. Robert will take your first and last name, and in addition to that, we will have Amanda Lau, another staff member, calling names for those who wish to comment and unmuting their lines. Once we open the public comment, Amanda will announce 3 names at a time so that people can have some notice and be prepared to speak. If you do not wish to speak, please message our staff and let them know. Or when the host states your name, please let us know that you're just here to listen. When it's your turn to speak, the meeting host will unmute your line. Please state your name and the 2-minute timer will begin. At the 2-minute mark, the host will announce time and your microphone will be muted. Of course, if you're unable to complete your full comment within the available time, please feel free to mail the Salt Lake City Council at P.O. Box 145-476, Salt Lake City, Utah 84114-5476. Or you can email us at council.comments@slcgov.com. Or contact our phone line at 801-535-7654. Let's begin with our first and only scheduled public meeting item, which is item B1. That is an ordinance that would enact Budget Amendment number 6 for the fiscal year 2020 to 2021. Before we begin taking comments, I will turn the time over to Ben Ludke from the City Council staff to give us a short introduction. Thank you, Ben.
This is the first public hearing for Budget Amendment number 6. The first briefing was held earlier today. Follow-up briefing is scheduled for next Tuesday, January 12th, and a second public hearing is scheduled for January 19th. Budget Amendment number 6 has a total of 8 items, totaling a little over $2.5 million, not counting the $300 million revenue budget for the Salt Lake City Airport. There's also 1 new full-time employee that's proposed as part of a city innovations team. The council straw polled support for 3 urgent items at the briefing earlier today, which are related to the temporary emergency winter shelter for people experiencing homelessness, funding for housing assistance programs, and funding for the airport redevelopment project. The council staff report, the administration's proposal, and the supporting documents are all available in the agenda packet. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Ben. Let's go ahead and take our first commenter.
Thank you, Council Chair. First, we have Cindy Cromer, followed by Ann Charles, and then David Troster. Cindy, go ahead.
First of all, can you hear me? Because I'm having
Yes.
trouble logging on.
We can hear you.
Wonderful. That's all I need. I had not expected to comment tonight, although I did speak to the Landmarks Commission in September at the hearing about the Fisher Carriage House. Then yesterday, an article appeared in the paper juxtaposing the Fisher Mansion post-earthquake with other pictures of the extensive damage to the Septimus Sears house in Liberty Wells, and worse, to the fiasco at the Glendale Water Park. Sloppy journalism. The earthquake damage in Liberty Wells is not relevant to your consideration, and the issues in Glendale Water Park are also unrelated to those of the historic Carriage House. I want to explain to you why the Carriage House is important. When Ralph Becker was elected to his first term, he was coming into the city and county building just as the property manager, John Spencer, was leaving. John told the newly elected mayor that the Fisher Mansion was poised for declaration as surplus property. In fact, I knew the people who intended to purchase it. Ralph, in what may have been his first act as mayor, said, "Don't do it." That's the only reason that the story of the Albert Fisher Mansion can live on in 3 dimensions, and that the public will have an opportunity to see how a successful business person chose to live, not on South Temple, but right next to his business. I consider the retention of the Fisher Mansion to be one of Ralph's most important accomplishments. Like Albert Fisher, Ralph was ahead of his time. The pieces are now in place for massive redevelopment in this part of the city. And Albert Fisher's story needs to be there to inspire people, and the historic buildings will indicate that this area has been important to the city for a long time. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Cindy.
Next, we have Ann Charles, followed by David Troster, and then George Chapman. Ann, go ahead.
Hi, thanks. In listening to your work session today, I just wanted to thank you guys for voting yes for the request to shift the money from the landlord's fund back to renters since they weren't using those funds. So I think that was a really good thing that you guys did. And then also for the airport inn shelter opening up and the fact that you guys had couple specific units. I think that was really good to listen to what people were saying was lacking in other shelters. So I just wanted to commend you guys on that as well and express support for it.
Thank you, Anne.
And next, we have David Troster, followed by George Chapman, and then Derek Dyer. David, go ahead.
Oh, thanks for unmuting me. I really don't have a lot of comment on this. It's just my first Zoom meeting, and I thought it prudent to accept all of the options to be able to comment so that I wasn't locked out. Although generally I'm fiscally conservative, and I would just urge to not throw good money after bad, and I don't know that that's the case. And I don't know if part of this budget amendment covers the water park, but I also saw that article on the water park and the Fisher Mansion. And I'm in favor of rehabilitating the water park, perhaps closing the golf course and taking the subsidy that's provided to the golf courses and applying it there to that property so that we could have water parks, which is probably more generally used than the golf courses. And if I'm misspeaking, if that's not part of this budget amendment, I apologize. But I also did see that information fed to the press said it was about 50%. I think something to the effect that we're in favor of tearing down the park. But as I recall, it was like 53% were in favor of keeping the park and restoring it. Last stats that I saw. Anyway, that's just my comment on this particular item. And again, if I'm wrong, I apologize. Thank you for the time.
Thank you.
Next, we have George Chapman, followed by Derek Dyer. George, go ahead.
Hi, on Budget Amendment 6, you promised the South Downtown Area Park before repurposing the funds to Pioneer Park. The Fisher Carriage House money in the budget amendment of $5.6 million should go to the fleet block, which will be much better used by the public. Do not fund the carriage house. The carriage house does not meet ADA requirements. If you continue to fund it as designed without an elevator, it may result in a lawsuit. The Glendale Water Park should have a big public swimming pool project along with a generous park area. A5 needs more budget. Let's be realistic. By summer, this city is going to be down 100 FTEs. That's serious. A5 needs more budget. And please approve the increased rent assistance and service models for the vulnerable and the $750,000 for the winter shelter. Mayor, thank you. You're doing a great job on the homeless, at least better than previous. So thank you very much. And please ask the staff to check on why Salt Lake is not using the available FEMA funds for housing the homeless. Those are my comments.
Thank you, George.
And next, we have Derek Dyer. Derek, go ahead.
Hi, thank you. I think I know most of you. My name is Derek Dyer. I'm the Executive Director of the Utah Arts Alliance. I'm also an artist and also the chair of the Utah Cultural Alliance. My comment is on the Fisher Mansion and the Carriage House. I just wanted to make a comment that I think that land and those buildings have enormous potential for public good. I think they should be used as an arts and recreation facility. We would be interested in working on that and possibly helping to administer a program like that. The Utah Arts Alliance is also taking on another project in the area. I think this would be a great complement to our project that we're working on for the 15th, the historic 15th Ward, which is on First South and 915 West. That will be a community art center, and so that's something we're working on. The Fisher Mansion is right around the corner, and I think that these two facilities would complement each other very well. And I think that it's rare that we don't have a lot of these historic buildings left anymore. It's important that we save them. And I think it's also important that we keep public access to them because they're gems and treasures for all of us to enjoy, I think. So those are my comments, mostly just about being in favor of the Fisher Mansion and Carriage House restoration.
Okay, thank you for your comments.
Council, that was our last commenter on this item.
Okay. Thank you for everyone who made a comment. I will go ahead and look for a motion on this.
Mr. Chair, I move that the council continue the public hearing to Tuesday, January 18th.
Second.
I have a motion from Councilmember Mono and a second from Councilmember Dugan. Is there any discussion to this item? Seeing none, we'll go ahead and proceed to a roll call vote. Councilmember Johnston.
Yes.
Councilmember Valdemoros.
Yes.
Councilmember Mono.
Yes.
Councilmember Dugan.
Yes.
Councilmember Fowler.
Yes.
And I'm a yes as well. That is unanimous with 2 council members absent. Let's go ahead and move to, we do not have any potential action items under Part C. Part D is our comment section of the agenda. I don't believe the mayor is available. I think that she had a prior engagement for tonight. So, and I don't see, we do have Rachel Otto from the mayor's office, mayor's chief of staff. Rachel, are you there?
I'm here. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Oh, you are. Oh, it says the mayor is here too, but I don't see her on here. I don't know if she's planning on joining us or not. But does anyone have any questions for the mayor or, oh, there she is. Welcome, Mayor. Thank you for being here.
Yes, I got that.
No problem. Does anybody have any questions for the mayor? Councilmember Mono.
Thank you. It's less of a question, more just a thank you for the announcement earlier about the public safety announcements with the chief of police. I've been hearing quite a bit of from my constituents about public safety concerns in District 5, both in Liberty Wells and the ballpark area. So I appreciate that. And I hope that I can be a help in any way that you need. So please let me know what I can do to help with those efforts. Thank you.
Okay, any other questions for the mayor?
No,
Any
just a comment.
Oh, go ahead, Councilmember.
Thank
Go
you,
ahead.
Mayor, and all of your staff for amazingly keeping the city running in 2020 with all the things that were thrown at you and us, and how well you guys managed despite our differences and despite our conversations. I really appreciate all of your staff and all the work that you do. So happy 2021, and we got this.
Thank you, council members, and I appreciate my staff too. They're amazing. If we learned anything, it's that we really can get through anything as a community. Hopefully, we're not faced with that in 2021, but I feel confident in our city's ability to navigate great things and terrible things too. And I want to thank the council for making a public space so accessible for so many of the critical conversations that we listen to in this formal meeting on most Tuesday nights. So thanks to your staff as well.
Thank you, Mayor. Does anyone have? Oh, go ahead. Go ahead.
Sorry, Mr. Chair. I thought the mayor's about to jinx us when she was starting to say we couldn't get through anything. Be there. Sorry.
I think she officially stopped short, but if everybody just wants to go ahead and knock on wood, maybe pull out your bowl real quick. All right. Does anybody have a question for Rachel? We don't usually have Rachel with us. Okay. Thanks for being here too, Rachel.
Always a pleasure. Thanks.
Okay. We're at section D2, which is the public comment section of our agenda. For those of us who are just joining in and didn't hear our rules, I'll go ahead and reiterate the process. We are accepting public comments through WebEx, and for those whose only option is to call in, we'll be also monitoring a separate phone line to include any callers. The City Council has always had rules of decorum that support legitimate government objectives of having an orderly, efficient meeting that moves through the agenda and gives everyone an opportunity to voice their opinions. We had these rules of decorum when we met in person, and it's important that we continue that engagement and provide an orderly, non-disruptive, efficient, and safe community, or excuse me, safe opportunity for all people to comment, even when we're meeting virtually. We create this forum because your comments are important to us, and we want to include your feedback and achieve great things for our city. In person, we had the added benefit of getting to see each of our commenters, which helped us get to know our constituents and engage more meaningfully. As we continue to meet electronically, we still want to provide a safe space for people to feel comfortable to participate. Our rules of decorum extend from the moment that you arrive in the public meeting. To help facilitate our comment period, please be respectful, avoid yelling, making racial slurs, obscene or defamatory remarks. The council respects all points of view and we welcome new insights. However, using foul language and personal attacks make the public comment forum uncivil and intimidating for others. In addition to this being a public forum, this meeting is also being broadcast on television and internet. Because of that, the council has decided to more strictly enforce the use of profanity. If you feel you need to use profanity to express your point, you're welcome to email the council or contact our comment line at 801-535-7654. Based on that, this will be considered your advance warning against the use of profanity. If someone uses profanity, we'll mute your microphone and you may forfeit your turn to finish your comments. In addition, just as we would ask everyone for your name in person in our meetings, we'll ask you to please provide a first and last name in order to participate in the public comment period. To limit disruption and ensure the efficient operation of the meeting, your first and last name cannot include a message or violate our rules of decorum. If your registered name doesn't meet this requirement, then our staff will use the chat feature to get that information from you. Again, if you feel that you need to use a pseudonym or a message in your name, we can direct you to other means of providing your feedback to the council. Robert Nutzman from our council staff is helping to moderate this meeting. He'll be messaging with the attendees to coordinate. Please monitor the chat screen for information and/or feel free to message our staff with any questions. Again, the name of the staff member is Robert Nutzman. Amanda Lau will be calling the names of those who wish to comment and unmuting their lines. Once we open public comment, Amanda will announce 3 names at a time so that people can have some notice and be prepared to speak. If you don't wish to speak, please message our staff and let them know, or when the host unmutes your microphone, just state that you're here to listen. When it is your turn to speak, the meeting host will unmute your line. Please state your name and the 2-minute timer will begin. At the 2-minute mark, the host will announce time and your microphone will be muted. Of course, if you're unable to complete your full comment within the available time, please feel free to mail the Salt Lake City Council at P.O. Box 145-476, Salt Lake City, Utah, 84114-5476. Or you can email us at council.comments@slcgov.com or call our phone line at 801-535-7654. Amanda, would you go ahead and announce the first 3 individuals who are in the queue to speak?
Sure thing. First, we have David Ammett, followed by Annie Charles, and then David Troster. David Ammett, go ahead.
I assume I can be heard.
Yes.
I'm speaking on behalf of the organization I represent, Preservation Utah. On behalf of the budget amendment, I'm sorry I clicked the wrong box when I rushed into the meeting a bit late. But I'm just calling to encourage you to vote for the extra funding for the Fisher Mansion Carriage House. This is, of course, in a neighborhood that is just going to boom with new development. And to anchor this new development and as well as the historic neighborhood around the Fisher Mansion with this resource will do nothing but good. This will be a source of pride, identity, and social economic vitality for the Poplar Grove area. we're extremely proud at Preservation Utah to have participated in the planning. And on that note, I just want to end my comment by remarking, as other staff in the city has been acknowledged for being excellent, the people in Salt Lake City parks are just absolutely the very best. They are people who not just work hard for the city, they love this city. And that is reflected in everything they do, including this project. And in honor of this laborious effort they have put into planning the Fisher Mansion Carriage House, they and other community partners, I strongly encourage you to fund it so it may come to fruition. And I appreciate your time. Thank you.
Thank you, David.
Next we have Annie Charles, followed by David Troster, and then George Chapman. Annie, go ahead.
Thanks. In listening to your guys' work session today, there were a few things that stood out to me. A couple that I thought were really good was the dashboard for people who are experiencing homelessness, where they can find out how many shelter beds are available and what resources are available. I think that's a really good idea. And also to make sure we're looking at how that can be accessible for those people, like with technology issues, where they can find that information, how they can find it, making sure that that is really accessible. Another thing that I liked was the Gardner Institute study and looking at the suggestions that you guys had. I would also, I don't know if they're doing this or if another organization is doing this, but what policies and programs are effective to be implementing, because it looked a lot at organizational structure and how we get government to address these issues, but then actually looking at the programs and policies we can implement that would effectively help people. And then one thing that stood out to me that the more I think about it, I find really upsetting is the sensory inclusive training that the police had done. It was a short video and a quiz, and that to me looks like they're going to do this in response to shooting a child who needed services. And I don't think that is at all adequate to, that's a joke of a training. Like, it's not going to help you. I've worked with children and adolescents on the spectrum. A video and a quiz is not enough to know how to respond and how to effectively help them. And like, they shot someone, and we need to look at how to really train them to handle these situations and just not have them handle these situations. That's not their job, and they shouldn't be taking on these roles that they're not equipped for. Thank you.
Thank you, Anne.
And next we have David Troster, followed by George Chapman. David, go ahead.
Thank you. I did just opt in because it's my first Zoom meeting with you, to have the option and not be cut out of that option. So I'm just listening. Thank you. Thank you for your rules of decorum too. Bye.
Thank you, David.
And then next we have George Chapman. George, go ahead.
Okay, on the South Davis BRT you discussed this afternoon, 455 and 470 have around 2,100 riders a day, not 4,000. And spending $170 million on 2,100 passengers a day doesn't make sense. 300 West 15-minute regular bus would be cheaper and best if you want useful service and higher ridership at a tenth of the cost. And don't tell the protesters that this project is double the police budget. Never mind defunding the police, defund overly costly. What the heck are they thinking? $170 million South Davis connector. This BRT, which by definition takes up 2 road lanes in Davis County, increases congestion and pollution, since those 2 road lanes could carry 10,000 or more personal vehicles full of passengers. I just can't understand why spending $170 million on this makes sense. Wouldn't it make more sense to buy everyone a new electric car? It would pollute less and be more enjoyable for the people. And James, $170 million would be better spent on mass transit for your 40,000 plus employees at the International Center and Inland Port, which is only 8 buses a day. I ask you to stop the insanity and stop this BRT, but thanks for listening and Happy New Year. Those are my comments.
Thank you, George.
And council, that was our last commenter for this item.
Okay, well, thank you to everybody who is following our meeting and everyone who commented. That brings us to agenda item E1, which is regarding a motion for the nomination of council chair and vice chair for calendar year 2021. I will look for a motion.
Mr. Chair,
Yes.
I move we elect Councilmember Fowler as chair and Councilmember Rogers as vice chair.
Second.
I have a motion from Councilmember Dugan and a second from Councilmember Valdemoros. Is there any discussion to this item? Seeing none, we'll go ahead and proceed to a roll call vote. Councilmember Johnston.
Yes.
Councilmember Valdemoros.
Yes.
Councilmember Mono.
Yes.
Councilmember Dugan.
Yes.
Councilmember Fowler.
Yes.
And I am a yes as well. That is unanimous with, let's see, only one council member absent. Okay. So congratulations on our new council chair, Amy Fowler, and our new council vice chair, James Rogers, Madam Chair. At this point, you may take over the chairing this meeting, or if you'd like, I can finish the last item and you can begin chairing the next meeting.
Councilmember Wharton, you're doing such an amazing job. I would love if you just continue, and thank you all for your votes, and notably first meeting as vice chair, and my vice chair isn't here. Just kidding. I know he had family duties, but
Yes. Well, congratulations to you both. And as I said, I will be bringing you the chair's gavel and time for our next meeting. Okay. So that brings us to agenda item E2, which is a motion to ratify the determination that the council will continue to meet remotely and without an anchor location pursuant to HB 5002. I will look for a motion.
Mr. Chair,
Yes.
I move that we ratify we continue meeting remotely without an anchor in accordance with HB 5002.
Okay. I have a motion from Councilmember Fowler. Is there a second? From Councilmember Dugan. Is there a second?
second.
I have a second from Council members Valdemoros and Fowler. Is there any discussion to this item? Seeing none, we'll go ahead and proceed to a roll call vote. Councilmember Johnston.
Yes.
Councilmember Valdemoros.
Yes.
Councilmember Mono.
Yes.
Councilmember Dugan.
Yes.
Councilmember Fowler.
Yes.
And I am a yes as well. That passes unanimously with Councilmember Rogers absent. Let's move to the last item on our agenda, item F1. Oh no, sorry, not quite. Item F1 is regarding a resolution for funding our future regarding the Transit Master Plan implementation interlocal agreement with the Utah Transit Authority. I'll look for a motion.
Mr. Chair?
Yes.
I move that the council adopt the resolution entering into amendment number 1 to addendum number 2 and addendum number 3 to the interlocal agreement with the Utah Transit Authority, and that the remaining $979,545.19 be placed into a holding account reserved for future funding our future transit expenses.
Second.
I have a motion from Councilmember Johnston and a second from Councilmember Fowler. Is there any discussion to this? Seeing none, we will proceed to a roll call vote. Councilmember Johnston.
Yes.
Valdemoros.
Yes.
Mono.
Yes.
Dugan,
Yes.
Fowler,
Yes.
and, and I'm a yes as well. That is unanimous with one council member absent. We are now at the last item on our agenda, which is the consent portion of our agenda. I will look for a motion.
Mr. Chair, I move that we adopt the consent agenda.
Second.
I have a motion from Councilmember Fowler and a second from Councilmember Valdemoros. Is there any discussion to this? Seeing none, we'll go for a roll call vote. Councilmember Johnston.
Yes.
Valdemoros,
Yes.
Mono,
Yes.
Dugan,
Yes.
Fowler,
Yes.
and I am a yes as well. That is unanimous with one council member absent. Council members, that concludes our formal meeting for tonight. Thank you all, and Happy New Year. We're adjourned.
Happy New Year.